Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this video today, we're going to go over the Metro Aviation air conditioning that's installed on an EC135 helicopter. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, welcome. All right, we're going to break this down into pretty much 4 sections, but it's all going to be blended together while we're making the video. But anyway, we're going to quickly go over the equipment that you need to service your air conditioning. We're going to next go over recovering the Freon refrigerant from the system and how to do that. After that, we're going to go over the leak check of the system after replacing the parts. Like if you had to replace a line that was chafed or whatever, or a pump that was screwed up or something like that, we're going to go over leak checking the system by pulling a vacuum on the system. And then finally, we're going to go over servicing the system with refrigerant, which is R134A. That being said, let's go through this. All right, before we begin, a quick disclaimer. I'm not affiliated with any aircraft manufacturers. I make these videos for entertainment, not education. Always refer to the manufacturer's maintenance instructions and not this video or any other videos on this channel. If there is something said in this video that is contrary to the maintenance manual, defer to the maintenance manual. Maintenance manuals are being revised all the time. Check current revisions prior to completing any maintenance on your aircraft. That being said, thank you for watching and let's roll. Well, obviously, if you're going to be working with air conditioning, you're going to need a set of air conditioning gauges, like the manifold, the part that hooks onto the helicopter. You're also going to need a recovery unit. If you've got a nice Robin Air, then you probably don't even need to watch this video. You already know how to do it. But if you've just got one that sucks it out and pumps the old Freon or R134A into a recovery unit, a tank, you're going to need the recovery unit and you're going to need the tank here. Also, you're going to need a vacuum pump, and obviously you're going to need some Freon. There's also this short hose here. You're going to need to have an extra short yellow hose to make sure it has the right fittings to fit on the recovery unit and the recovery tank. This short hose, you're going to need to hook to the vacuum pump when you suck down a vacuum, because the hose on the manifold has the fitting, it has the Schrader valve on the inside, and that won't work, which I found out. You also may need a heat gun, depending on how you're going to put the Freon back into it. And another nice to have would be a scale, so you know exactly how much Freon you put into the helicopter. All right, first thing you want to do is read Metro's manual. We'll go over that later. Sorry. You want to look at your manual for your recovering unit. This one right here is a Yellow Jacket Recovery XL or XLT. I don't know which is which, but they're probably the same. And then you want to hook up all your stuff. So you want to hook up the yellow line from the recovery tank to the recovery unit. All right, done. Then you also want to hook up your manifold. So you hook the yellow line to the inlet of the recovery unit and the manifold on your air conditioning, on your you know, the one with the gauges and the 3 lines. Then you want to hook up your high pressure line. Make sure everything's closed on your manifold. Number 1, make sure the knobs are closed. Red hose goes from the aircraft to the high pressure line on the manifold. It should already be hooked up to the manifold. Blue line goes from low pressure side of the helicopter to the manifold. Obviously, this is your helicopter right here. Where do you hook to in the helicopter? I guess that's an obvious one we should probably go over first, but let's go over it now. All right, if you open up the clamshell doors, on the left-hand side, the panel here on the left with the stainless steel on it, that comes out. It's not hard to take off. You don't have to take off all the other panels. Take it out. The connection for the air conditioning is there, both hoses. They're kind of jammed inside of that channel, which is kind of crappy. So you got to get them out of there a little bit and hook up your manifold. High pressure's red, low pressure's blue. They'll only go on one way, honestly. Quick once over on hooking it up. All right, what's it say? Connect the manifold, low pressure, high pressure, connect this, suction, discharge, the liquid. Open the liquid, turn this on, switch to liquid. Open the liquid, Pumps the liquid out. Quick note on this recovery tank. Take a look at it. There should be a date stamped in there with a bunch of numbers, like a water level and all these other things. Weigh the tank. Make sure it's not overfilled. You're only supposed to fill it to whatever, 70% of the water level. You got to figure it out. You got to go on Google and figure out what size tank you have. Make sure it's not overfilled and make sure it's not past the expiration date of the hydrostat or whatever, which is like 10 years or 5 years, but you have to look at that. The last thing you need to do is jam a bunch of jam a bunch of Freon into this thing and it explodes. And don't blame me. Look it up. You have to Google it. It took me a while to figure it out. It's not like a simple answer. Hey, if you have this size bottle, you only put in this much. It has temperatures, all these things, but you have to figure it out. Don't say I didn't warn you. Heads up, warning, safety, caution, 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 warning, safety, danger, danger. Cool. So now we're doing the job. Everything's hooked up. Turn on the unit and it pumps, it sucks it out of the helicopter and pumps it into the recovery tank. Super. Once that's done, turn everything off. Turn the unit off, read the manual, turn it clockwise to the off position, turn the recovery tank off, turn the manifold off, disconnect, everything off. Turn this to off. Close these. Close these. All right, now we're going to disconnect this and we're going to put this onto our vacuum pump. We can disconnect this line, so we're done with that. All right, cool. Now you need to hook up a vacuum pump. So get your vacuum pump. I have the manifold yellow line, which didn't work because the inside has that fitting which never opened when you hook it to the vacuum pump for some reason. So I had to use the other yellow line that went from the recovery unit to the recovery tank. Anyway, if you pull a vacuum and it says it's got a wicked crazy vacuum. Look, it's going to take a long time to suck everything out of here and pull a vacuum because the system is pretty large. You've got a condenser and you've got 2 evaporators and you have the receiver dryer and all the lines. So, and there's oil in there. So it takes a while to suck all the Freon out of the whole system. The recovery unit will suck all the Freon out, but there's some little bit left in there, or there's moisture in there, but it takes a little bit of time. So anyway, if you hook up this line and it's the wrong line, you turn on a vacuum and it goes straight to 30 inches of mercury, then it's probably not hooked up right. Anyway, hook up the right line, suck a vacuum. We're sucking a vacuum, and you'll see it if you watch the gauge. It will go, I don't know, down to 20 inches or whatever, and then it might go down to 10. Some moisture or something boiled off inside of there. Don't worry about it, but just suck it down until you get like as close to 30 inches as you can get, and just keep it running for a while. And also, I think it's on the high pressure line that has that sight glass, which is underneath where you're hooking it to. And look, check that out. Look at those bubbles. They're like evaporating out of the oil that's in that edge of that sight glass. It's so weird. Anyway, once it's all done, you won't see that anymore. I've never noticed that until I did this job recently. Anyway, that being said, stick to the facts. All right, look at the low. When you're sucking the vacuum down, you can open up the high pressure and the low pressure at the same time. It sucks it from both sides of the system instead of having to go all the way through the entire system to go to the low or the high, because there's no pressure in it. You already sucked all the Freon out. Now you're just sucking a vacuum to make sure you don't have leaks. Like if you replaced a part, you need to make sure you don't have any leaks, and that's what it says in the maintenance manual. I mean, basic air conditioning stuff, not a big deal, but if you've never worked on air conditioning, then I guess this is day one for you. Sorry. So you suck a vacuum. Well, let's go read the manual. All right, because we're probably at the point at the manual because we're about to service it after this. So back to how to find the manual. So you go to Metro Aviation, product support, you log in, you hit the hamburger, you go to document portal, you go down to EC135, you go to air conditioning. So the STC is SR09163RC. Great. And then if you, it has two, there's two kits, the flex drive and the direct drive. But if you go into the flex drive and you read the discontinuation letter from Metro, they have discontinued support for the flex drive. So we're just going to go into the direct drive, since anyway, that's what half of our machines have, and that's what eventually we're all going to have. So direct drive, equipment maintenance manual, and then you scroll down to, okay, this is equipment maintenance manual, EMM 135 AC-6. That's Metro's STC. And then you go to chapter 21, part 2. That's where your work is. Inspections, troubleshooting. So you scroll down. All right, well, right at the beginning, 212200, paragraph 3.1 and 3.2. 3.2 is servicing. At 3.3 is compressor oil. And look, you don't ever really add oil to the system unless you're changing like the compressor or an evaporator or a condenser. If you just change a line or something like that, it really doesn't suck too much oil. I don't think it sucks any oil out of it when you recover this unit. But if it's in here and it says to add oil, add oil. So 3-2, servicing, servicing charging system. Scroll all the way down. All right. Note. You need to be certified to do your air conditioning somehow. If you got an A&P license, I think you are certified. Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, don't ever open up and let your Freon out into the atmosphere. If you do, you're going to get like 20 life sentences. So just don't do it. You need to recover it properly. Great, blah, blah, blah. Charging the system. Install a set of charging gauges like we did and hook it up to the vacuum pump like we're doing. Open both high and low pressure valves and turn on the pump. This is, we're going to suck a vacuum like we were just talking about. It says introduce refrigerant oil during the initial charging phase. Go to paragraph 3-3 for adding oil. Allow pump to operate until low side gauge reading of approximately 30 inches of vacuum, inches of mercury vacuum. Okay. At sea level is obtained. Wait 15 minutes and then go to step D. Slightly less vacuum will be indicated in higher elevations. Great. Close both valves, then turn off the vacuum pump. Close your valves. If you don't close your valves and you just turn on the pump, it won't hold vacuum. All right, close your valves on your manifold. Okay, so they want you to run the pump for 15 minutes, then shut the valves, and then watch it for 30 minutes. Pressure should remain steady. If vacuum is not maintained, then you need to figure out where the leak is. We'll pretend you don't have a leak. If you have a leak, you got to figure that out. Adding refrigerant. Connect center hose of service gauge. Okay, so you connect the center hose of your manifold gauges, the yellow one, to your R135 tank. Open the supply valve and purge the line prior to opening the low pressure servicing valve. Charge the system with what's it say, 36.8 ounces or 1.04 kilograms of R134A Freon as a starting charge. Quite often, that's good enough. After you have the starting charge, they want you to run the helicopter for a couple minutes and check the gauges according to this chart. This chart's crazy. You just got to figure out what your temperature is and your humidity levels are, and then it gives you a range for your high side and your low side. And if it's not there, then that might be a problem, okay? And that also gives you a maximum, what's it say? A maximum left instrument panel air nozzle discharge temperature. All right, cool. Back to sucking down a vacuum. All right, so we have a vacuum. We're good. Now we're going to service this thing. So there's two ways to do it. If it's not very hot out, you can use a heat gun to pump it to heat up the tank, and it turns the liquid Freon into vapor, and it will flow into the helicopter. You just need to set your tank on the scale, and zero it out. Turn on the heat gun and open up the tank and open up your high side and low side valves on your manifold. And it will slowly flow in. It will take a very long time, but there's no way that you'll ever be able to get 2 pounds, 4.8 ounces of Freon that you need to flow into there. And if you just open it up, even though there's a vacuum on the system, it won't flow in 2 pounds, 2 pounds, 4 ounces, almost 5 ounces. It won't flow in. So if you put a heat gun onto the refrigerant tank, it will boil off the Freon, and don't worry, it won't heat up your tank. Feel the tank when you're heating it up. It won't, the lower part that has the liquid Freon in it won't get hot at all, won't get warm at all. It's crazy. Just make sure you don't smoke check your manifold or your scale. Just be careful. I've done this in the past, but I tried this recently, and I don't know, it just didn't really work out because it was freaking hot outside. So maybe it didn't help. I don't know if that was the reason. I don't know if there's, I don't know what the deal was. But anyway, the other way that you could do this is you can use your recovery unit, pull the Freon out of the tank and pump it into the helicopter. You just need to make sure that you are watching the scale and you turn it off at the right time, because you don't want to put too much in it, and you don't want to blow up your helicopter and overpressurize the system, because that's dangerous. Ideally, because you can't run the helicopter and turn the air conditioner on until it has a certain amount. It has to be higher than the low pressure switch. You know, if the low pressure, if you don't have enough Freon in the system won't turn on. Okay, it turns the system off once there's a low amount of Freon, if that makes sense. Anyway, so we'll go over this real quick. The yellow line goes from the Freon tank to the recovery unit inlet. You switch the system to recover, everything's off, your valves are closed. Then you have the output of the recovery unit going into the manifold. You have the manifolds closed. You zero out your Freon, you zero out your scale so you know how much is going in there. Of course, it'll be a negative number. Then you turn on the pump and you open the gauges and you watch the scale until it reaches what you need, 2 pounds, 4.8 ounces. And then you shut off the valve. You shut off the valves on your manifold and you turn off the pump. Deal? Cool. Then you go outside and you run it, and if you need to add more so that your pressures match to what is on the form, so that your pressures match what is on the chart for Metro, then you do that. And also you want to make sure you have the correct temperature coming out of the front nozzle. And also there's one other thing that it says in the manual. What did it say? It says, here we go. This is running the helicopter. Turn the system on with the helicopters running, both engines, and place fan switch on high. Allow system to stabilize for 2 minutes. After the system pressure stabilizes, refer to chart on the following page. Obtain a temperature reading at the evaporator intake and at the WEMAC outlet. So the intake is, there's a hole under the co-pilot seat, technically, where is the inlet to the evaporator, the forward evaporator. It's pretty close to it. It's not really a direct access. So you need the temperature, check the temperature there, and coming out of the front left or any one of the air conditioner air outlets. If the 15 degrees Fahrenheit temperature differential cannot be obtained, check for blockage of the condenser and proper operation of the condenser and compressor, blah, 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 blah. So pretty much what they're saying is you're only going to get 15-degree temperature drop, and it gets pretty hot in that cockpit because it's like a giant magnifying glass on the sun. So the air conditioner system really doesn't work that good, but it works better than nothing. Anyway, that's it. And there's more, right? They want you to do an in-flight check and blah, 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 blah. Not difficult. Quick review. Oh, there's one other thing. If you change any air conditioning parts, like you have a broken line and it was open to the air for a while, or the system's old, you're going to want to change your receiver dryer. And that's located on the left side of the helicopter behind the left engine firewall. And it's mounted to the front of the condensers. It's kind of not super easy to change, but it's not crazy difficult. But have one of those on order if you needed to do some air conditioning work. Anyway, quick review of the air conditioning system in an EC135 installed under the Metro Aviation STC. Hope you guys found some value in it. Nothing like sending out an air conditioning video at the end of summer, beginning of fall, a little late. And this one was requested by a couple people. I've been meaning to make this one for a long time now. I just haven't had the pictures and the time. So hope you guys found value in this video. Share it with some of the guys you know. If you could, give me a like and a subscribe, or a thumbs up, and appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. All right, later.